You begin by doing nothing at all. You let your body rest exactly where it is, without adjusting or improving it. The room around you is quiet enough to notice the smallest things. A distant sound. A faint shift of air. And then, most gently, you notice the presence of light. It does not demand attention. It does not announce itself. Light simply arrives, as it always has, touching surfaces without effort. It rests on walls, on fabric, on your skin. You feel it more than you see it, a soft warmth that carries no instructions. Light has traveled an enormous distance to reach you, yet now it behaves as if it has all the time in the world. You imagine stepping outside, barefoot, onto cool ground. Above you, the sky holds the sun in patient suspension. Below you, leaves gather that light with a calm confidence that feels almost reassuring. Leaves do not chase sunlight. They wait for it. And when it arrives, they welcome it without urgency. You let your breath slow as you watch a leaf in your mind. Its surface is broad and thin, shaped not for speed, but for listening. Sunlight settles onto it, photon by photon, each one a tiny packet of energy arriving from the heart of a star. The journey has taken minutes, crossing space that feels unimaginably wide. And yet the moment of arrival is quiet, almost shy. This is where light learns to rest. In the human world, energy often means motion. It means action, change, progress. But here, inside the living green of a leaf, energy means something softer. It means patience. The leaf does not rush to use the light. It does not force it into purpose. First, it allows the light to simply be present. You sense how different this feels from your own habits. How often do you rush to respond, to decide, to move? The leaf shows you another way. It teaches that the first step of transformation is stillness. Light must be received before it can become anything else. Scientifically, this moment is real and precise. Light arrives as electromagnetic energy, vibrating at specific frequencies. The leaf does not accept all of it. Some wavelengths are reflected, which is why the leaf appears green. Other wavelengths are absorbed, welcomed inward. This selectiveness is not judgment. It is alignment. You imagine the leaf as a quiet shoreline. Waves of light roll in, again and again. Some pass by, reflected back into the world. Others sink gently into the sand, leaving their energy behind. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is hurried. Inside the leaf, structures wait just beneath the surface. They are small, but numerous, like a hidden congregation. These are the places where light will eventually be transformed, but not yet. First comes contact. First comes rest. You allow your awareness to linger here. You feel the idea that even the most powerful forces in nature begin with gentleness. The sun itself is immense, a constant fusion of matter and energy. Yet its touch on a leaf is soft enough not to harm, precise enough to sustain life. This balance is not accidental. It is the result of deep time, of evolution shaping leaves to handle light without being overwhelmed by it. Too much energy, delivered too quickly, would be destructive. So the leaf slows the sun down. You feel a strange comfort in that thought. That nature has learned how to soften even a star. As you continue to breathe, You imagine light spreading across a forest canopy. Millions of leaves receive it at once, each one performing the same quiet act of attention. There is no competition here. No leaf steals light from another. Each takes what it can use, leaving the rest to move on. The forest becomes a vast field of listening surfaces. Energy enters the system not as a command, but as an invitation. In your body, something mirrors this process. Your skin senses warmth. Your eyes sense brightness. Signals travel inward, slower than light, but meaningful in their own way. You do not need to act on them. You simply receive. This chapter is not about what light does next. It is about this pause, this sacred delay between arrival and use. In physics, absorption is often treated as a technical step, a necessary condition before energy can be transformed. But here, it feels like a moment of trust. The leaf trusts that the light will be useful. The light trusts the leaf to receive it safely. Between them exists a relationship built on balance. You rest inside that balance now. The world outside continues its motion. The planet turns. Time passes. But here, where light meets life, there is no rush. There is only readiness. You begin to sense that this resting light is not wasted time. It is preparation. Something is gathering itself, quietly, beneath the surface. Energy is being held, not trapped, but cradled. As you drift closer to sleep, you feel curiosity stir without waking you. You wonder what happens after light has been received. How it moves deeper. How it becomes part of breath, of growth, of air itself. The leaf remains still, holding the sun gently, as if waiting for the next soft instruction to arrive. You remain still, carrying the quiet from the last moment with you. Light has learned to rest, and now the leaf begins to breathe. Not with lungs or ribs, but with openings so small they feel more like ideas than structures. As you breathe in, the leaf does too, though its rhythm is slower, more patient, less concerned with urgency. You imagine air drifting across the surface of a leaf. It does not arrive suddenly. It glides, carrying invisible passengers. Among them is carbon dioxide, a simple molecule made of one carbon and two oxygens, floating like a soft syllable waiting to be spoken. The leaf does not recognize it as waste or threat. It recognizes it as possibility. Along the leaf's surface are countless tiny doors, called stomata. They open and close with care, responding to light, humidity, and internal need. You picture them as blinking eyes, half awake, never fully shut, always listening to the atmosphere. Through these openings, carbon dioxide slips inside, unannounced and unafraid. You feel the poetry of this exchange. You breathe out carbon dioxide without thinking, a byproduct of your own quiet chemistry. The leaf receives it as nourishment. Nothing about this is dramatic. It is an everyday miracle that has been happening longer than memory. Inside the leaf, the air slows. Molecules drift through watery spaces, dissolving gently, spreading evenly. There is no single direction, no force pushing them forward. Diffusion guides the way, a natural tendency to spread out, to balance, to settle. The leaf trusts this softness. It does not rush the air along. You notice how different this feels from machines, from engines, from systems that depend on pressure and speed. Here, movement happens because space allows it. Because gradients exist. Because patience works. Carbon dioxide moves deeper, toward places prepared to receive it. It carries carbon, an element that builds structure, that forms the backbone of sugars, cells, and eventually forests. For now, it waits, suspended in readiness. At the same time, something else is happening. Oxygen, a molecule often paired with urgency and fire, is being set free. It drifts outward, back through the stomata, returning to the open air. The leaf releases it without ceremony. Oxygen is not hoarded. It is given. You breathe in again, and this time you are aware of the gift. The oxygen entering your lungs may have been inside a leaf moments ago, or hours, or days. It carries no memory of its previous home, yet its presence supports your every thought. This exchange is not a transaction. No leaf demands payment. No animal owes a debt. It is a shared rhythm, a slow conversation between life forms that do not need to speak to cooperate. You imagine a forest breathing at night. Without sunlight, photosynthesis slows, but respiration continues. Leaves still take in oxygen, still release carbon dioxide. The balance shifts gently, never stopping, never collapsing. Even in darkness, the green world remains alive with quiet exchange. During the day, when light returns, the balance shifts again. Carbon dioxide intake increases. Oxygen release grows generous. The forest becomes a vast breathing body, its inhale and exhale shaping the composition of the sky. You feel smaller now, but not insignificant. Your breath joins this cycle effortlessly. With every inhale, you accept oxygen shaped by leaves. With every exhale, you return carbon dioxide shaped by you. Neither form is permanent. Both are temporary expressions of the same elements, endlessly rearranged. Scientifically, this exchange stabilizes the planet. It regulates atmospheric gases, supports climate balance, and allows complex life to exist. But here, in this moment, it feels simpler than that. It feels like cooperation without instruction. You sense how ancient this rhythm is. Long before animals walked on land, plants were already breathing with the atmosphere, slowly changing it, enriching it, making space for future forms of life. The air you breathe is not original. It is cultivated. The leaf does not know your name. It does not know your worries or plans. And yet it participates in your survival without hesitation. This is not kindness in a human sense. It is interdependence, woven so deeply that separation becomes impossible. You rest in that thought. That your body is supported by processes you will never consciously control. That your breath is shared with trees you may never see. That life does not require awareness to be meaningful. As sleep draws closer, your breathing slows further. You imagine matching the pace of a leaf, opening gently, closing softly. Inhale. Exhale. Exchange without effort. Carbon drifts inward. Oxygen drifts outward. The leaf continues its quiet work, preparing materials for the next transformation. Light rests. Air moves. Chemistry waits. And somewhere inside the leaf, behind layers and membranes, a hidden city stirs, ready to welcome what the breath has delivered. You grow smaller without effort, as if size itself is an idea you can release. The vastness of the world recedes, and the surface of a leaf becomes a landscape. What once felt smooth now reveals gentle hills and shallow valleys. You pass through the outer layer easily, entering a place designed not for visitors, but for balance. Inside the leaf, space opens quietly. It is not empty, yet it does not feel crowded. Cells rest beside one another like buildings spaced for light and air. Nothing presses. Nothing competes. Everything fits because it has learned how. You drift forward, guided not by signs, but by curiosity. The walls around you are thin and flexible, made of living material that bends rather than resists. These membranes are boundaries, but not barriers. They separate tasks while allowing conversation, like rooms connected by open doors. The city reveals itself gradually. There are no sharp edges, no rigid lines. Everything curves, folds, and layers, as though shaped by water instead of force. Pathways wind gently, guiding molecules rather than marching them. This is a city built for patience. You notice movement, slow and constant. Fluids stream through narrow channels, carrying dissolved nutrients and messages. Nothing hurries, yet nothing stops. Motion here feels like breathing, steady and reliable. Within each cell, smaller structures wait, each with a purpose, each resting until needed. Among them, chloroplasts glow softly. They are oval and calm, floating like green lanterns in a twilight room. These are the places prepared for light, the heart of the city's work. You approach one, and it welcomes you without reaction. Its surface is layered, folded inward again and again, increasing space without increasing size. These folds are careful designs, shaped to hold attention, to keep energy close. Inside the chloroplast, light is no longer distant. It is present, absorbed, resting within pigments that line the folded membranes. The city has brought the sun indoors. You sense how deliberate this architecture is. Every curve increases surface area. Every layer creates opportunity. This is not excess. It is efficiency wrapped in gentleness. Outside the chloroplast, the rest of the cell continues its quiet tasks. Sugars move. Signals pass. Water flows. Each process supports the others without command. There is no central authority here, no single ruler. Coordination emerges naturally from connection. You realize that complexity does not announce itself. It does not require noise or speed to be impressive. It simply works, moment after moment, sustained by relationships rather than control. As you drift deeper, you feel time soften. Seconds lose their sharp edges. Processes unfold on scales your body rarely notices. Chemical reactions take place, not explosively, but like slow agreements being reached. Carbon dioxide molecules arrive, guided by diffusion, settling into places prepared for them. Water molecules wait nearby, calm and abundant. Energy rests within pigments, held gently, not yet released. This city is not built for immediate results. It is built for reliability. For repeating the same quiet work millions of times without failure. For sustaining life across days, seasons, and eras. You feel a strange sense of safety here. Nothing unexpected happens. Every reaction follows paths refined by evolution, tested by time. Errors are rare, and when they occur, systems adjust softly, correcting without alarm. You notice how little waste exists. Byproducts become inputs. Excess heat dissipates gently. Even inefficiency is minimized, not through force, but through design. As a visitor, you do not interrupt anything. The city continues its rhythm, indifferent to observation. It has no awareness of being seen, yet it is deeply knowable through patience. You float past stacks of membranes where light energy waits. Soon, it will move, guided along pathways that do not require choice. Energy will become chemical potential, stored safely, ready to be shared. But not yet. For now, everything holds its breath, not in tension, but in readiness. The city knows what is coming, because it has always known. Light will change form. Carbon will find structure. Sugar will emerge, step by careful step. You sense the moment approaching, not as an event, but as a transition. The stillness you feel is not emptiness. It is anticipation shaped by order. As you begin to drift outward again, you carry the image of this hidden city with you. A place of softness and precision. Of quiet collaboration. Of immense complexity wrapped in calm. Behind you, deep within the leaf, the lanterns glow steadily, and the first subtle vibrations of transformation begin to stir. You move closer now, drifting inward with a gentleness that matches the place itself. The hidden city fades behind you, and your attention settles on something simpler, something smaller, yet endlessly important. Here, within the folded membranes of the chloroplast, you encounter chlorophyll. Not as a diagram or formula, but as a presence. Chlorophyll does not speak. It listens. You imagine it waiting in stillness, embedded within soft green layers, exposed to light but never overwhelmed by it. Sunlight arrives again, as it always does, wave after wave, particle after particle. Chlorophyll does not grab at it. It opens itself, quietly receptive. This pigment has a preference. It does not absorb every color. Some wavelengths pass through. Others bounce away, returning to the world as reflected green. What remains is carefully chosen, tuned to specific energies that chlorophyll knows how to hold. You sense this selectiveness as wisdom rather than limitation. Attention, after all, is always selective. To listen deeply, something must be allowed to pass by. Chlorophyll teaches this without words. When light is absorbed, something subtle happens. Energy does not explode or scatter. It lifts gently, like a note sustained rather than struck. An electron within chlorophyll is nudged into a higher state, not torn from its place, but invited upward. This is the beginning of transformation, and it happens without noise. You feel the delicacy of this moment. Too much energy too quickly would cause damage. Too little would be useless. Chlorophyll exists in the narrow space between excess and insufficiency, perfectly matched to the sun that feeds it. This balance did not appear by chance. Over immense stretches of time, molecules that handled light well survived, and those that did not faded away. What remains is refined listening, shaped by countless sunrises. You stay with this sensation of listening. Chlorophyll does not anticipate what comes next. It does not plan. It simply receives, holds, and responds according to its nature. Energy enters, and order follows. Inside the membrane, many chlorophyll molecules sit close together. They do not compete for light. Instead, they cooperate. When one absorbs energy, it can pass that energy along, sharing the excitement, spreading it gently across the group. You imagine this like a quiet conversation passing through a crowd. No one shouts. No one interrupts. The message moves because each participant is ready to receive it. Scientifically, this sharing happens with remarkable efficiency. Energy travels through the pigment network with minimal loss, guided by proximity and structure. But here, it feels like trust. Each molecule trusts the next to carry the energy forward. You notice how different this is from the way energy often moves in human systems, where friction, resistance, and waste are common. In the leaf, the goal is not speed, but care. As the energy moves, it approaches a place of decision. Reaction centers wait nearby, prepared to convert this gentle excitement into a more stable form. But chlorophyll does not rush the handoff. It ensures the energy is steady, coherent, usable. You feel the vibration beneath awareness now. It is not sound, but readiness. Light has been heard. Its message has been received. The green color of the leaf begins to feel symbolic rather than accidental. It is the visible trace of all the light that was not taken, all the energy that was allowed to pass. What you see is restraint made visible. You realize that transformation does not begin with action. It begins with attention, with the ability to receive without grasping. Chlorophyll embodies this principle at a molecular scale. As you rest with this thought, your own body seems to echo it. Your senses receive the world constantly, filtering, selecting, absorbing only what can be handled. Awareness itself behaves like chlorophyll, choosing where to focus, where to let things pass. You feel calmer recognizing this parallel. That listening is an active process. That stillness can be productive. Within the leaf, energy continues its gentle migration. Chlorophyll has done its part. It has captured light without harm, lifted energy without chaos, and passed it along without loss. Something else is about to happen. Energy will soon leave the realm of light and enter the realm of chemistry. Electrons will move. Gradients will form. Paths will open. But for now, you remain with the listener. You sense that chlorophyll does not hold on longer than necessary. It knows when to release. Attention, after all, is not possession. It is participation. As you drift towards sleep, the image of green listening lingers. Light arrives. It is received. It is shared. And just beyond this quiet exchange, energy is preparing to choose where it will flow next. You remain close to the gentle glow, close enough to feel the moment when listening becomes movement. Energy, newly received, does not leap forward. It does not rush to escape. Instead, it begins to spread, quietly, like warmth traveling through still water. You sense that this movement is different from motion, you know. There is no direction signposted, no single road marked as correct. Energy does not ask where it should go. It responds to what is available. Inside the chloroplast, pathways wait like soft impressions rather than rigid tracks. They are shaped by chemistry, by distance, by subtle differences in charge and structure. Energy feels these differences the way water feels gravity, the way breath follows an open airway. You drift alongside this energy, not watching it move forward, but watching it spread outward. It exists in more than one place at once, shared across neighboring molecules, gently exploring what lies ahead. This is not confusion. It is abundance. You feel how unnatural it would be to force a single path too early. Energy needs room to sense, to sample, to find the route where it will lose the least and give the most. Nature understands this deeply. In human terms, this moment might feel like indecision. But here, it is clarity expressed softly. Energy moves according to gradients, tiny differences in potential that guide it without command. No one tells it what to do. The landscape itself is enough. You imagine rolling hills made not of earth, but of probability. Energy drifts downhill, not because it is pushed, but because it is allowed. Where resistance is low, flow becomes easy. Scientifically, electrons begin to move between molecules, hopping carefully, guided by redox potentials. But you experience it as something gentler, like passing a candle flame without ever losing the light. Each transfer is precise. Each step conserves as much energy as possible. Waste here is not dramatic. It is minimized through countless small adjustments shaped by evolution's long patience. You notice how many paths exist at once. Some are direct. Others curve slightly. Some fade quickly, less efficient, gently abandoned without regret. Energy does not mourn the paths it does not take. It simply follows the one that works best. This coexistence of possibility feels calming. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is lost. Multiple futures exist briefly, and then one quietly becomes real. You feel a resonance with your own inner life. Thoughts, too, often appear together, overlapping, unresolved, until one finds enough support to continue. Choice emerges not from force, but from fit. Inside the leaf, this process is happening constantly, millions of times over, flawlessly, silently. Energy is guided not by will, but by structure. By the careful arrangement of molecules that make some transitions smoother than others. You sense how deeply this contrasts with chaos. Though nothing is commanded, nothing is random. Order emerges from relationship, not instruction. As energy moves, it begins to separate itself from light and settle into chemistry. Charges shift. Gradients form across membranes. Tiny imbalances are created, not as errors, but as opportunities. These imbalances matter. They store potential, like a held breath or a raised hand waiting to fall. Energy is no longer just passing through. It is being shaped into something that can last. You slow with it, feeling the rhythm of transfer. Step. Pause. Step again. Each movement small enough to be safe, large enough to matter. The leaf has learned that energy used too quickly burns. Energy used too slowly fades. So it has designed paths that neither rush nor stall, but flow. You feel trust return. The same trust you felt when light was received. The same trust present when air moved in and out. Here again, the system holds energy gently, guiding without gripping. Energy does not tire. It does not become impatient. It simply follows what the environment offers. In this way, the leaf becomes a landscape, and energy becomes a traveler who never needs a map. As you drift closer to sleep, the idea of choice softens. You realize that many things in nature do not decide. They respond. They move where conditions welcome them. The energy you are following is nearing another threshold. Soon, time itself will seem to slow, stretched between capture and use. The path has been chosen, quietly, without announcement. And as energy continues forward, you feel it preparing to wait, to linger in a space where patience becomes part of the process. You move deeper now, past pathways that feel familiar, into a layer where certainty loosens its grip. The world here is not chaotic, but it is subtle. Rules still exist, yet they bend slightly, as if willing to adapt. You sense that this is not the place of solid steps and clear edges. This is where nature speaks in whispers. Energy no longer feels like something traveling from one point to another. It feels more like a presence spread thin, like mist resting over a field. It is here, and there, and somewhere between. You do not try to pin it down. You simply notice its softness. This is the quantum layer of the leaf, though it does not announce itself as such. There are no signs declaring a change in physics. Instead, you feel it in the way things hesitate, in the way outcomes remain open just a little longer than expected. At this scale, energy behaves less like a particle and more like a possibility. It explores multiple routes at once, sampling paths without committing to any single one immediately. This is not indecision. It is efficiency expressed through openness. You imagine a thought forming in your mind. Before it becomes a sentence, it exists as a cloud of meaning. Several words could follow. Several directions feel possible. Only later does one solidify. Here, inside the leaf, energy does something similar. The structures around you are perfectly arranged to support this behavior. Pigments, proteins, and membranes are positioned with exquisite care, close enough to allow overlap, far enough to prevent chaos. This spacing matters. It creates a space where quantum effects can gently assist life instead of disrupting it. You feel how strange and beautiful this is. Nature, often imagined as blunt and mechanical, is using the softest rules of the universe to improve efficiency. Instead of forcing energy down a single track, it allows it to feel out the landscape, choosing the best route by being everywhere briefly. Nothing collapses too soon. The system resists urgency. It holds uncertainty like a held note, allowing it to resonate just long enough to be useful. Scientifically, coherence lingers here. Energy states remain linked, sharing information across molecules. This connection helps guide energy smoothly toward its destination, reducing loss, increasing success. But you experience it not as math, but as harmony. You sense how fragile this balance is, and how carefully it is protected. Too much noise, too much heat, too much disruption, and the whisper would be drowned out. Yet the leaf manages to maintain this quiet, even in sunlight, even in warmth. This tells you something important. Delicacy is not weakness. It is skill. You rest with that idea. That the most effective processes may be the least forceful. That control is sometimes less powerful than allowance. The quantum whisper continues, guiding energy without touching it, influencing without directing. Paths are weighted, not commanded. Likelihood replaces instruction. You notice that time feels different here. Events do not happen in sharp sequence. They blur slightly, overlapping, stretching. Cause and effect still exist, but they feel closer together, almost simultaneous. This is not confusion. It is closeness. Energy is preparing to become something more stable, something classical again. But before it does, it benefits from this brief freedom, this moment of exploration. You feel gratitude for this hidden layer. Most life never notices it. Most minds never sense it. And yet it quietly improves the odds for every leaf, every forest, every breath. As you drift, you realize that this whisper does not belong only to plants. It exists everywhere, beneath the surface of reality, supporting processes that require finesse. Life has learned to listen to it. You, too, listen now. Not with ears, but with attention softened by sleep. You allow uncertainty to exist without needing resolution. You allow thoughts to remain uncollapsed, gentle, spacious. The leaf continues its work. Energy begins to settle, choosing a form that can last longer, that can be stored, shared, used. The quantum whisper fades, not disappearing, but stepping back. Classical rules will return soon. Time will sharpen. Reactions will become more defined. But for this moment, you remain in the hum, in the quiet uncertainty that makes efficiency possible. And as energy prepares to wait, suspended between capture and use, you feel time itself begin to stretch, inviting patience into the process that comes next. You sense the shift before you can name it. The hum of uncertainty softens, and the world regains a slightly firmer shape. Energy has passed through its quiet exploration, and now it rests in a new state. Nothing dramatic marks this change. There is no signal, no sound. Only a deepening calm, as if the system itself has exhaled. Time feels different here. You are used to time as a steady current, always pulling forward, always asking for the next moment. Inside the leaf, time behaves more like a pool. It gathers. It holds. It allows processes to unfold without pressure. Energy has been captured, guided, and stabilized, and now it waits. This waiting is not empty. It is full of readiness. You drift alongside molecules that carry energy in a safer form now, no longer light, no longer probability, but chemical potential. Electrons have moved. Gradients have formed. Tiny differences across membranes store energy like a gentle tension, held without strain. The leaf does not release this energy immediately. It resists urgency. Instead, it creates space between absorption and use, a pause that protects both structure and outcome. You feel how intentional this is. If energy were used the moment it arrived, reactions would be too violent, too uncontrolled. If it were held too long, it would dissipate, lost as heat. The leaf finds a middle ground, where patience becomes precision. Inside this pause, time stretches. Enzymes wait in position shaped perfectly for their tasks. They are folded just so, ready to guide reactions when the moment is right. They do not push molecules together. They invite them into proximity, lowering barriers, easing transitions. You sense how care is built into every step. Nothing collides by accident. Nothing is left to chance. Yet nothing is forced. This is the wisdom of delay. You think about how often waiting is framed as failure or inefficiency. But here, waiting is a feature, not a flaw. It allows energy to be released gradually, safely, in forms that can build rather than burn. Carbon dioxide molecules arrive, already present from the leaf's breathing. Water molecules wait nearby, abundant and calm. Energy stored in gradients stands ready to do work, not all at once, but step by step. The leaf is preparing to build sugar, one of the most important transformations in life. But it will not rush this creation. Sugar must be stable, reliable, able to travel and nourish. Such a molecule cannot be made in haste. You feel time thicken, like honey poured slowly. Seconds feel longer. Moments feel rounder. Nothing is lost in this slowness. Everything gains shape. Scientifically, this pause allows the coupling of reactions. Energy released in one place can drive a process somewhere else, carefully matched so that each step supports the next. Without this coordination, efficiency would collapse. But you experience it as trust. The system trusts that there is enough time. That sunlight will continue to arrive. That breath will continue to flow. That life does not need to rush itself into exhaustion. You rest with that thought. That sustainability depends on pacing. That endurance is built from restraint. The leaf has learned this over millions of years. Those that rushed burned out. Those that wasted energy faded. What remains is a choreography refined by survival, where every pause has purpose. You notice how your own body responds to this idea. Your breathing slows further. Your thoughts soften at the edges. You do not feel compelled to reach the end of anything. You are content to remain in the middle, where processes unfold naturally. Inside the leaf, reactions begin when conditions align. Enzymes guide carbon atoms into chains. Hydrogen joins, oxygen balances. Each step releases or consumes just enough energy, drawn from the stored gradients, replenished by ongoing light capture. Time continues to stretch, not endlessly, but generously. There is room for correction, for feedback, for subtle adjustments that keep the system stable. Nothing here is wasted. Even heat is managed, dissipated gently, preventing damage. Even byproducts are reused, redirected, folded back into the system. You sense the intelligence of this design, not as intention, but as outcome. Nature does not plan, yet it produces plans. It does not think, yet it embodies wisdom. As sleep draws you deeper, the idea of delay feels comforting rather than frustrating. You realize that many things become possible only when they are not rushed. Growth, healing, understanding. The leaf continues its quiet work, assembling molecules that will store sunlight in solid form. Energy is becoming nourishment, but it is not finished yet. You linger in this slowed time, aware that the next transformation is approaching. Sugar is beginning to take shape, built carefully from captured light. And as the leaf prepares to turn waiting into sweetness, you sense that something enduring is about to be formed, step by patient step. You remain within the slowed rhythm of the leaf as waiting gently becomes making. Energy, held patiently, begins to move again, not as a rush, but as a careful sequence. This is where light finally changes its name. It becomes chemistry. It becomes structure. It becomes food. You watch carbon arrive, carried softly by carbon dioxide molecules that have drifted here from the air. Carbon is steady and versatile, able to connect, able to hold. It waits calmly, ready to become part of something larger than itself. Water is already present, abundant and unassuming. Hydrogen and oxygen sit together, not yet separated, not yet reassigned. Energy stored in gradients and molecules waits nearby, like a quiet helper ready to lift without being seen. The leaf brings these elements together without force. Enzymes guide the meeting, positioning molecules so reactions can happen easily. Nothing collides randomly. Each step is arranged to feel almost inevitable. You sense how sugar is not created all at once. It emerges gradually, assembled piece by piece. Carbon chains lengthen. Bonds form and stabilize. Energy is invested carefully, then recovered, then invested again. This process is slow by human standards, but perfectly timed by biological ones. The leaf knows that stability matters more than speed. Sugar must last. It must survive movement, storage, sharing. You imagine the sugar molecule taking shape like a delicate structure built from sunlight. Each bond holds a memory of energy once carried by photons. Each connection is a quiet echo of the sun. Scientifically, this transformation is part of a larger cycle, guided by enzymes that have evolved to perform their tasks with remarkable precision. But here, it feels like craftsmanship. Like careful hands shaping something meant to endure. You notice how nothing is wasted. Byproducts are reused. Energy released in one step fuels the next. Even inefficiency is minimized through repetition and refinement. The leaf does not celebrate this achievement. It does not pause to admire the sugar it has built. Creation here is ordinary, expected, continuous. And yet, without it, life would not exist as you know it. You feel the significance of this moment deepen. Sugar is more than sweetness. It is stored sunlight. It is potential movement, growth, warmth, thought. It will travel through the plant, nourish roots, feed fruits, support seeds. Eventually, it may travel further still. It may become part of another organism. It may cross boundaries between species, between lives. Its journey is only beginning. You sense how ancient this process is. For billions of years, leaves and their ancestors have been performing this quiet alchemy, slowly changing the planet. Oxygen filled the air. Energy became portable. Complexity became possible. The sweetness you taste in fruit, the energy you feel in your muscles, the warmth in your body, all of it traces back to moments like this, where light was patiently rebuilt into matter. You feel a soft gratitude, not sharp or emotional, but steady. Gratitude for the leaf's consistency. For the sun's generosity. For the time that allowed this system to refine itself. As sleep draws closer, your awareness softens, but this understanding remains. You realize that nourishment does not begin with hunger. It begins with illumination. With light learning how to stay. Inside the leaf, sugar molecules now rest, stable and ready. Some will be used immediately. Others will be stored. All of them carry energy forward in a form that can last through night, through shade, through absence of sun. The leaf has completed a transformation, but it does not stop. It repeats the process again and again, quietly sustaining the world. You begin to drift outward, carrying the image of sunlight turned solid, of sweetness built from patience. You sense how this single leaf connects to many others, how individual acts of creation scale into forests, fields, and canopies. Soon, you will rise above the leaf, seeing how countless small sugars support something vast. How quiet chemistry feeds the sky itself. And as the sweetness settles into place, you feel the pull toward a wider view, where many leaves work together, breathing energy into the world. You begin to pull back, gently, as if lifted by curiosity rather than force. The single leaf that once held your entire attention now becomes one among many. It does not lose importance as it shrinks. Instead, it gains context. You see how its quiet work is echoed again and again, until the repetition becomes something vast. Leaves gather into branches. Branches gather into trees. Trees gather into forests. What felt intimate becomes expansive, yet the rhythm remains the same. Light arrives. Air moves. Sugar forms. Breath continues. From above, the forest looks still. But you know better now. You feel the movement beneath the canopy, the constant exchange unfolding leaf by leaf. Millions of tiny surfaces listen to sunlight at once, each performing the same patient transformation. You imagine the forest as a single breathing body. Not synchronized by command, but aligned by shared conditions. When light increases, photosynthesis deepens. When clouds pass, the rhythm softens. When night arrives, respiration carries the system forward. Together, the trees respond to the sky like a quiet tide. Carbon dioxide drifts downward, drawn in by countless stomata opening across the canopy. Oxygen rises upward, released gently, molecule by molecule, reshaping the air. The forest does not shout its presence. It alters the atmosphere slowly, persistently, until balance emerges. You feel how much trust this requires. No single tree can change the sky. No single leaf can stabilize the climate. And yet, together, they do. Not through urgency, but through accumulation. Sugar, built from sunlight, begins to move. It travels through veins and trunks, nourishing roots, feeding growth rings, supporting leaves yet to unfold. Some of it becomes wood, dense and patient. Some becomes fruit, inviting and temporary. Some becomes fuel for night, sustaining life when light is gone. Nothing here is static. Even the most solid trunk is a record of motion, a history of seasons written in layers. Each ring holds the memory of sunlight captured and stored, year after year. You sense how the forest shapes more than itself. Shade cools the ground. Moisture lingers. Soil deepens. Microclimates form. The presence of trees changes how water moves, how wind flows, how heat settles. Stability emerges not from control, but from presence. You feel small again, but in a comforting way. Your breath, too, is part of this system. The oxygen you inhale may have risen from these leaves. The carbon you exhale may return here, one day, to become part of another tree. This exchange is not symbolic. It is literal. Matter moves between bodies, between species, between scales. The forest feeds the sky, and the sky feeds the forest, and you move quietly between them. You notice how time feels broader now. Forests operate on scales longer than individual lives. They respond to decades, centuries, even millennia. Their patience smooths extremes, absorbs shocks, remembers patterns. When conditions change slowly, forests adapt slowly. When change comes too fast, they struggle. You feel the fragility beneath the strength, the reliance on continuity. Stability depends on time being allowed to flow gently. You rest with this awareness, not as worry, but as understanding. That balance is maintained through countless small acts repeated faithfully. That resilience is built from consistency. From this height, you see that forests are not uniform. Each has its own character, shaped by climate, soil, history. Yet all share the same fundamental work. Capture light. Build matter. Exchange gases. Support life. You feel the generosity of this process. The forest does not benefit alone from the sugar it builds or the oxygen it releases. Life spreads outward from these acts, supporting insects, animals, fungi, and eventually you. The sky above carries the forest's signature. Its composition, its clarity, its capacity to hold warmth and release it again, all are influenced by the quiet work below. The atmosphere is not a given. It is cultivated. You imagine the sky as a memory, holding traces of every leaf that has ever lived. Oxygen produced long ago still circulates. Carbon fixed centuries past still rests in wood and soil. The present is layered atop the past, never fully separate. As you drift towards sleep, this wide view softens your thoughts. You feel held between canopy and clouds, between ground and air. You do not need to act. The system continues without instruction. The forest breathes. The sky responds. Energy flows in slow, reliable cycles that do not require attention to persist. And as you begin to turn inward again, away from the vastness, you sense that this planetary rhythm does not end at the edge of the trees. It continues into cities, into bodies, into you. The light captured here will travel far, eventually becoming movement, warmth, thought. And somewhere within you, that ancient sunlight is already waiting to be noticed. You settle back into yourself, carrying the forest, the canopy, and the quiet labor of leaves within your awareness. The journey outward, through hidden cities and quantum whispers, now folds gently into your own presence. You feel a subtle weightlessness, as though the connections you have witnessed extend into your body, making each breath a thread linking you to the sun. The air you inhale carries the memory of leaves. Oxygen released by countless plants over millennia arrives in your lungs, diffusing into your bloodstream, slipping quietly into your cells. Carbon from your own exhalations may have traveled before through a leaf, a root, a trunk, a forest. You are a participant in an exchange that has been happening long before you were born and will continue long after you sleep. Within you, Energy that began as photons dances its way through molecules. Your cells harness it, transforming it into the electricity of thought, the warmth of blood, the motion of muscles. Every heartbeat is fueled by light captured far away, filtered, stored, and handed onward by the patient labor of green surfaces. You are not separate from this process. You are its continuation. You notice how miraculous this is without needing to be dramatic. No explosions, no fanfare, just a steady, reliable transformation, day after day, year after year, repeated across billions of leaves, across all the forests, fields, and gardens of the world. Your body is a vessel for this ancient work, quietly sustained, quietly contributing. The boundaries you normally sense between yourself and nature feel thinner. You can imagine the leaf you first entered, the sugar it built, the forest that breathed for centuries, now existing inside you, not as memory alone, but as a continuous cycle. You are the leaf's distant echo, carrying its sunlight forward into new moments. You let your attention wander inward. Within your cells, chlorophyll's distant relatives, pigments and molecules specialized to transform energy, participate in a similar, smaller-scale choreography. Electrons shift, gradients form, reactions occur in rhythm. Time stretches and slows just enough for life to continue without strain. Your body, in essence, repeats the leaf's meditation, patience, attention, transformation. You sense the layers of this memory, folding across space and time. Some energy traces back through forests you will never see. Some comes from plants that grew in another hemisphere, another season, another year. Some is immediate, from leaves you might have brushed against today, in gardens or parks, absorbing sunlight and passing it onward. All converge within you, a hidden symphony of light. Breath comes slowly. You feel the weight and lift of air moving through your chest. You feel warmth in your skin, a subtle trace of the sun's journey that began long before your own. Each cell receives this light-derived energy with quiet efficiency, converting it to the forms that keep thought, movement, and life ongoing. Your heartbeat and the rhythm of your breathing are echoes of the sun's persistent pulse. The past seems present. Billions of years of evolution, countless generations of leaves, trees, and photosynthetic cells each has contributed to this moment. The sun has never stopped shining, and your body has never stopped receiving the product of that constant gift. You are a solar memory, standing, lying, breathing, thinking, alive because sunlight has been transformed again and again, through systems both microscopic and planetary. You notice a soft interconnection, like the subtle chords of a stringed instrument vibrating in harmony with unseen notes. You are intertwined with every breath of wind, every gust that moved pollen, every molecule of oxygen once released by ancient leaves. You are both observer and participant, receiver and continuation, holding the legacy of sunlight in your chest. In this quiet awareness, gratitude does not arrive as a thought. It is a feeling, gentle, diffused, extending through your spine and into your limbs. Gratitude for the patient unfolding of processes that require no applause, no notice, no human acknowledgement. Gratitude for the constancy of the sun, the trust of the leaf, the rhythm of the forest, the chemistry in your own cells. Gratitude for the simple, miraculous fact of being alive, sustained by light. Time here feels fluid. Sleep is near, and you do not resist it. The cycles of energy, the pulses of electrons, the transformation of light into sugar, oxygen, warmth, and motion, all of it continues without your conscious intervention. You can let go. You can rest. You can drift. You imagine light traveling through you now. It enters the leaves of your lungs, flows through your blood, whispers along nerve pathways. Every molecule that once belonged to a leaf, to a tree, to a forest, moves in synchrony with your life. You are a continuation of all that came before, and everything you are will feed what comes after. your awareness softens further. The line between self and environment is permeable, like membranes within the leaf, like stomata opening gently to the air. You are a moment in the ongoing, patient transformation of sunlight. You are energy received, held, and repurposed. You are part of a cycle older than memory, broader than understanding, and yet intimate enough to feel in your own breath. You feel the sun still at work inside you. It does not sleep. It does not rush. Its photons, transformed by leaves, carried by forests, absorbed by your body, continue to sustain you. Every heartbeat, every thought, every warming of muscle tissue, every flicker of awareness is quietly fueled by light that has journeyed across space and time. You are alive because the sun continues its steady gift. You are held in this awareness, poised between wakefulness and sleep, observer and participant. The leaf you entered, the sugar it built, the forests that fed the sky, all of it continues, in you, through you. Energy moves in cycles too vast and precise for your mind to fully grasp, yet intimate enough to feel, soft and sustaining. And as your eyelids grow heavy, as your thoughts become slow and rhythmic, as your breath joins the ancient cycle of exchange, you realize that sleep will carry you further, deeper, into this solar memory where light, life, and time continue their quiet, patient work. The sun is still shining, and inside you, it is still quietly transforming.